The hidden architecture of national power. When people talk about powerful countries, they usually look at the surface: the army, the leader, the flag, the currency, the banks, the stock market, the speeches, the military bases, and the global influence. But these are only the visible signs of power. Real national power is built in layers. Some layers are physical, some economic, some political, some emotional, some symbolic, and some global. The key idea is simple. The higher layers depend on the lower layers. If the foundation is weak, everything above it becomes fragile. A country may have a flag, but if it cannot control its territory, the flag means little. It may have banks, but if it does not produce real wealth, finance becomes speculation. It may have ideology, but if people cannot eat, stay safe, or imagine a future, ideology becomes empty. So in this video, we are going to look at the nation state as a stack: territory and population, security, survival resources, infrastructure, production, taxation, administration, law, currency, finance, welfare, legitimacy, national identity, ideology, elite cohesion, information control, and finally, global power. Let's start at the bottom. 1. Territory and population. The first layer of any nation state is land and people. Before a state can have laws, taxes, money, schools, courts, elections, police, or ideology, it needs territory and population. This layer answers a basic question: who are the people and what land does the state control? A state without territory is not really a functioning state. A flag without territory is only a symbol, but territory alone is not enough. People farm the land, build roads, work in factories, serve in the military, pay taxes, speak the language, raise children, create culture, and carry the state across generations. Geography also matters. Rivers, ports, fertile land, minerals, and access to the sea all shape national possibility, but land and people are only the beginning. The next question is whether the state can protect them. 2. Security and order. Security comes before advanced economy. Before people can build, trade, invest, study, farm, or travel, they need basic order. Security includes military defense, police power, border control, protection from invasion, protection from civil war, and control over violence. This layer asks, can the state control violence? If armed groups control neighborhoods, militias control roads, foreign armies can invade freely, or criminal networks are stronger than police, the state is weak. Factories, schools, courts, banks, and currencies all need order. Without security, everything becomes short-term. People hide wealth, flee, or depend on family, tribe, sect, militia, or foreign protection. This is why security is deeper than the economy. Markets need predictability, but security alone does not feed people. So after security comes survival. 3. Food, water, energy, and basic survival. The third layer is the survival system: food, water, energy, shelter, basic health, transportation, and access to raw materials. This layer asks, can the nation physically survive? Power is not only speeches, ideology, or money. Power is bread, water, electricity, fuel, and medicine. A state that cannot feed its people is unstable. A state that cannot provide water is vulnerable. A state that cannot secure energy cannot run hospitals, factories, transportation systems, communication networks, military bases, or modern cities. Energy keeps the system alive. Food keeps politics stable. When people cannot feed their families, they stop asking abstract questions about ideology and ask whether the government can keep them alive. But resources alone are not enough. If they cannot move and connect, they cannot become national power. 4. Infrastructure and logistics. Infrastructure is the bridge between survival and production. It turns scattered resources into usable power. It includes roads, railways, ports, airports, warehouses, electricity grids, water systems, pipelines, communication networks, internet cables, and supply chains. This layer asks, can resources move and connect? A country may have fertile land but no roads to move food. It may have oil but no pipelines or refineries. It may have minerals but no railways. It may have workers but no electricity to power factories. In each case, the country has potential power but not organized power. Infrastructure connects farms to cities, mines to factories, factories to ports, power plants to homes, school to students, hospitals to patients, and government offices to citizens. A government cannot truly govern territory it cannot reach. 5. Real production. Real production is where a society creates actual wealth. It includes agriculture, mining, energy production, manufacturing, construction, technology production, industrial capacity, and skilled labor. This layer asks, can the nation create real wealth? Can it grow food, generate energy, build homes, make machines, produce medicine, manufacture vehicles, build weapons, create technology, train skilled workers, and export goods others need? Production is the material base behind everything else. A military needs production, welfare needs production, currency needs production, taxation needs production, global power needs production. Manufacturing is especially important because it creates industrial knowledge. Engineers, technicians, suppliers, logistic systems, quality control, research capacity, and technological discipline. Finance can organize wealth, but production creates the substance behind wealth. Banks can issue loans, but they cannot replace factories. 6. Taxation and revenue extraction production creates wealth. Taxation converts wealth into state power. A society may be rich, but if the state cannot collect revenue, the state itself may remain weak. This layer asks, can the state capture surplus? Taxation funds the military, police, courts, bureaucracy, schools, roads, intelligence, public health, diplomacy, and welfare. Without taxation, the state cannot act at scale. It can make promises, but it cannot pay for them. It can declare laws, but it cannot enforce them. Taxation is one of the clearest signs of state capacity. A government that can reliably tax society has reach, records, authority, and administrative machinery. Production creates surplus, taxation captures surplus, and state capacity grows from captured surplus. But money alone does not build a state. The state also needs machinery. 7. Administration and bureaucracy. Administration is the machinery of the state. It includes ministries, civil service, census systems, identity documents, tax agencies, public records, local government, border offices, schools, health systems, licensing systems, and regulatory agencies. This layer asks, can the state actually carry out its decisions? Many weak states have constitutions, ministries, elections, and official plans, but when the state tries to act, little happens. It cannot collect accurate data, identify citizens, deliver services, regulate businesses, monitor borders, or implement policy across the country. A state without administration is like a brain without nerves. Administration gives the state memory by recording people, property, taxes, courts, borders, budgets, and population. It gives the state reach by connecting the center to the local level. Once administration exists, law becomes possible at scale. 8. Law, courts, and property order. Law turns raw power into predictable power. This includes courts, contracts, property rights, criminal law, business law, constitutional order, dispute resolution, inheritance law, and commercial regulation. This layer asks, can rules be enforced predictably? Modern society depends on strangers cooperating. You buy from people you do not know, work inside institutions full of strangers, sign contracts with companies, deposit money in banks, rent property, and rely on courts and regulations. All of this requires predictable rules. If contracts mean nothing, business becomes dangerous. If property can be seized randomly, investment disappears. If courts are corrupt, people seek private protection. Law allows businesses to invest, banks to lend, and citizens to resolve disputes without violence. Law also supports money because money depends on trust. 9. Currency and monetary power. Money looks powerful, but money is not the deepest layer. Money is a symbol of deeper power. A strong currency depends on security, production, taxation, administration, law, central banking, and trust in the state. This layer asks, can the state create trusted money? A currency is a promise. It says this paper, coin, or digital number represents value, but people only believe that promise when they trust the system behind it. They must believe the state can tax, the economy can produce, contracts will be enforced, political order will continue, and the government will not destroy the currency through inflation. A government can print currency, but it cannot print trust, food, oil, skilled labor, factories, or legitimacy. Production, taxation, law, and administration together support money. 10. Banking and finance. Finance is a higher level layer of national power. It includes banks, credit, bonds, mortgages, stock markets, insurance, investment funds, sovereign debt, and capital markets. This layer asks, can future production be organized through credit? Finance allows society to pull the future into the present. A business borrows today to build a factory that will produce tomorrow. A family gets a mortgage today to buy a home over decades. A government issues bonds today to build infrastructure for future generations. Finance can allocate capital, support expansion, spread risk, fund innovation, and make large projects possible. But finance requires law, trust, contracts, stable currency, enforceable debt, productive assets, and credible institutions. Finance can expand production, but it cannot replace production. When it detaches from production, it becomes speculation, bubbles, and debt dependency. 11. Welfare and social distribution. Welfare is the layer where surplus becomes social stability. It includes public education, healthcare, pensions, unemployment support, housing assistance, disability support, social insurance, and poverty relief. This layer asks, can surplus be redistributed in a way that stabilizes society? Welfare depends on deeper layers. You need production to create surplus, taxation to collect it, administration to distribute it, law to regulate it, and money to finance it. A state cannot sustainably distribute what society does not produce, but welfare is not only a cost. Education creates skilled citizens, healthcare protects the workforce, pensions reduce fear among the elderly, unemployment support prevents social collapse during shocks. Welfare changes the emotional relationship between people and government. The state becomes not only a tax collector or police force, but also a provider and protector. 12. Legitimacy. Legitimacy means people believe the state has the right to rule. This is different from fear. Fear makes people obey because they are afraid. Legitimacy makes people obey because they believe authority is acceptable, rightful, or necessary. This layer asks, do people accept the state's authority? People may accept a state because it protects them, provides prosperity, represents their identity, follows tradition, is democratic, is religious, won a revolution, provides justice, or seems better than the alternatives, but legitimacy usually rests on performance. Does the state protect us, feed us, provide order, treat us fairly, give us a future? When the answer is yes, legitimacy grows. Once legitimacy exists, people pay taxes, obey laws, serve, sacrifice, and trust institutions more willingly. An illegitimate state must rely more on coercion, and coercion is expensive. 13. national identity, and symbolic power. National identity turns the state from an institution into an emotional reality. It includes the flag, anthem, national language, history, heroes, martyrs, myths, monuments, maps, schools, holidays, and shared memory. This layer tells people we are one people, this is our land, and this state represents us. A state can function without deep national identity, but it will be emotionally weak. People may follow rules, use the currency, pay taxes, and accept services, but they may not love the state or sacrifice for it. National identity creates emotional glue. It helps millions of strangers imagine themselves as part of the same collective story. People do not usually sacrifice for bureaucracy or tax codes, but they may sacrifice for homeland, memory, dignity, independence, ancestors, future generations, or the flag. Identity gives the state emotional depth. 14. Ideology and worldview. If national identity answers who are we, ideology answers where are we going. Ideology gives direction to national power. It asks what the state is for, what justice means, what future society should build, who belongs, who the enemy is, and what citizens should sacrifice for. Ideology may be liberal, socialist, nationalist, religious, monarchist, revolutionary, capitalist, democratic, anti-colonial, civilizational, or imperial. Whatever form it takes, ideology organizes meaning. It explains the past, defines the present, and promises a future. This is why ideology can mobilize society and justify war, revolution, reform, discipline, expansion, or resistance. But ideology without material capacity becomes empty. Daily life judges ideology. If the story says the nation is rising while people experience collapse, the ideology weakens. Ideology is strongest when it connects to real performance. 15. Elite cohesion. A state does not only need ordinary citizens to cooperate, it also needs elites to remain coordinated. Elites include military leaders, political leaders, economic elites, bureaucrats, religious authorities, media figures, intellectuals, regional power brokers, and security officials. This layer asks, are powerful groups united enough to keep the state functioning? Elite cohesion does not mean elites never disagree. In every state, elites compete for influence, argue over policy, form factions, and pursue interests. But in a stable state, elite competition stays inside the system. In a fragile state, elite conflict becomes existential. The military turns against politicians. Economic elites move wealth abroad. Regional elites threaten separation. Bureaucrats sabotage policy. Foreign powers exploit internal divisions. When elites split badly, the state becomes vulnerable to coups, revolutions, civil war, paralysis, economic crisis, and foreign manipulation. 16. Information and narrative control. Modern states do not only control territory, they also try to control meaning. Information and narrative control includes media, education, propaganda, censorship, intelligence, surveillance, statistics, public opinion, digital platforms, historical narratives, and official explanations of reality. This layer asks, who defines reality for the population? People act based on what they believe is happening. If they believe the state is strong, they behave one way. If they believe it is collapsing, they behave another way. Narrative turns events into meaning. A protest can be described as democracy, chaos, foreign interference, revolution, reform, or national awakening. The event may be the same, but the interpretation changes everything. In the digital age, this layer is even more powerful. Social media, foreign influence, independent journalism, censorship, surveillance, and artificial intelligence all shape the battlefield of attention, memory, emotion, and interpretation. 17. International recognition and global power. Global power is the highest expression of the nation state. It includes diplomacy, alliances, trade access, military projection, reserve currency status, sanctions power, global institutions, foreign bases, soft power, international legitimacy, shipping routes, and influence over other states. This layer asks, can the state influence the outside world? But a state cannot sustainably project power outward unless it has strong internal layers. Foreign policy begins at home. A country needs production to sustain military power, taxation to fund diplomacy and war, administration to manage strategy, law and credibility to make agreements, currency and finance to shape markets, legitimacy to survive long conflicts, identity and ideology to mobilize people, elite cohesion to act consistently, and information power to shape perception. Global power is not magic. It is internal power extended outward. If the internal structure weakens, global power eventually weakens too, the full power stack. Now let's bring the model together. A nation state is strongest when it can convert each lower layer into the next. Territory becomes security. Security protects survival. Survival supports infrastructure. Infrastructure enables production. Production creates surplus. Surplus becomes taxation. Taxation builds administration. Administration enforces law. Law supports money. Money enables finance. Finance expands production. Surplus funds welfare. Welfare strengthens legitimacy. Legitimacy deepens identity. Identity supports ideology. Ideology mobilizes society. Elite cohesion coordinates powerful groups. Information control shapes public reality. And a mobilized society projects global power. That is the full architecture. A country may have territory but no security, resources but no infrastructure, production but weak taxation, laws but no enforcement, currency but no trust, banks but no productive economy, welfare but no surplus, ideology but no legitimacy, elites but no cohesion, ambition but no global power. The strength of a nation state is not only what it possesses, it is what it can transform. Can land become organized territory? Can people become citizens? Can resources become infrastructure? Can infrastructure become production? Can production become taxable surplus? Can taxes become institutions? Can institutions become law? Can law become trust? Can trust become money? Can money become finance? Can finance become growth? Can growth become welfare? Can welfare become legitimacy? Can legitimacy become identity? Can identity become ideology? Can ideology become mobilization? Can mobilization become global influence? That is the real test. Closing. So the next time you look at a nation state, do not only look at the leader, the army, the flag, the currency, the stock market, or the speeches. Look underneath. Ask whether the state controls its territory. Ask whether it protects its people. Ask whether it feeds and energizes them. Ask whether resources can move. Ask whether the country produces real wealth. Ask whether the state can tax that wealth. Ask whether it can administer its decisions. Ask whether courts and laws are predictable. Ask whether people trust the currency. Ask whether finance serves production or replaces it. Ask whether welfare creates stability. Ask whether people believe the state has the right to rule. Ask whether citizens emotionally identify with the nation. Ask whether ideology gives direction or distraction. Ask whether elites are united or divided. Ask who controls information. Ask whether internal power can become external influence. National power is not built from the top down. It is built from the bottom up. When the lower layers are strong, the upper layers can rise. But when the foundation cracks, even the most impressive symbols begin to weaken. The flag may still fly, the currency may still circulate, The army may still march, the speeches may still continue, but underneath, the structure may already be breaking. That is why the real power of a nation state is not only what it shows the world, it is what it can sustain. It is the hidden architecture beneath the surface. And once you see that architecture, you can never look at countries the same way again. Thank you for watching. Which layer do you think matters most today? Production, legitimacy, information control, or global power?